Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner and operator of Something Wiki Entertainment and Events, and I want to welcome you to my podcast in which I kind of delve into an individual horror film that could be from any decade, any subgenre, kind of like anything that has anything to do with horror in general. And then I bring on some special guests to kind of talk about that individual film, from the aspects of critical analysis to actually just having a conversation to sometimes just having fun talking about the film itself. Now, we are doing kind of something odd lately, and we are delving into much more recent films, which is not what we typically do, but to kind of give an outlook on a lot of these more recent films, we are delving into some of the more popular recent films out there, which is today's discussion. And I'm going to introduce my guests first because, that's what I do. So I want to thank you, Philip Ray and Thomas Torello, for joining me on this conversation in which we talk about the really recent 2025 film Companion. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Wake up, Thomas.
Wake up, Thomas. If you've seen the film already, which we do hope that you have, and since this is a recent film, if you have not already seen the film, we suggest you do that before listening to our conversation about the film, because this will not be a spoiler-free conversation. That being said,
yes, I will say to our viewers who are listening to this, this is a prime movie. If you have not seen the trailers, or even if you haven't seen the trailers, but you watch the first one and not the other ones, do not watch the movie, then come back to us. This is a movie you need to go into blind. It is very much a go in blind movie because the twist will get you so much better if you don't know what's coming.
Right, it will. But having said that, I do think, first of all, it's like I knew the first twist before I watched it, and I still enjoyed the heck out of this movie. I will show my hand very early and say this is a stellar film for me. And of course, I saw it under the best of circumstances. We'll get into that. But for those of you who haven't seen it, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's been out for a year. Y'all should have seen it by now. But if you haven't, that's okay. We're not going to shame you for that because there's a lot of crap out there and there's a lot of good stuff out there. It's a lot to sort through and nobody's curating it for you. Maybe we can help you with that. But honestly, if you're looking for something new, if you're looking for something original, and by golly, we all know that there's horror fans out there who scream at the ether for something original. And by golly, you will get it with this. I promise you. You will get it with this. You will get weird, wild twists and turns, and you'll get a lot of blood. Not a lot of gore, but you're going to get a lot of blood. And if you like that stuff, if you like thrills, you like being surprised, and you like Sophie Thatcher, please, for the love of all that is holy, watch this movie without knowing anything but the poster, and even the poster's a little too much, actually, now that I think about it, and the title. That's all you need. All you also need to know is that this movie was originally going to be developed as Zach Krieger's follow-up to Weapons. Instead, Drew Hancock took over, and he acquits himself rather well. So from here on, it's spoiler territory, folks. Just watch it.
okay. I'm not going to agree with all of what you two have both said just yet, and this is why it's going to be an interesting conversation, because especially with Philip, because Philip and I have already discussed some of this film prior to us deciding to do a conversation on it. So I do want to get your since you both already gave me a little bit about your first impressions with the film, but we're going to go into more of that a little bit now, starting with you, Thomas. When was the first time you saw the film, or in general, and what was your kind of impressions of it?
Well, so the first time I saw this was I was babysitting, or actually I was puppy and cat sitting at a friend's house, and the kitty is no longer with us, so rest in peace, Zoe. And at my friend's house, they have a basement room with a 4K projector on their wall, and it's a pretty nice little cozy setup. And I was all alone, and I had nobody demanding anything of me. I had nothing else to do but make sure this dog and this cat stayed alive for 2 days. And so what did I do? I watched movies on their giant 4K projector, and I still had not gotten around to see this movie. And by golly, that was one of the things I saw. So basically, I saw this on a double feature with Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. So that was an interesting couple of days. So in the cozy basement, which I think is probably the second best way to see a movie other than going into the theaters, is to see it in somebody's basement with a huge projector. And I loved it. And I first heard about it, though, when it first came out on the podcast Colors of the Dark. Shout out to host Rebecca McKendry and Elric Kane. God bless you guys. We love the work you do. And yeah, like Philip mentioned here, this is one of those go in blind movies. The concept is so high concept that I wonder how it even got made, because it's almost unmarketable. Like, how the heck do you how do you even seduce people into getting this movie into their laps? I think part of the reason it succeeds is because, yes, there's a gigantic twist in, I think, 15, 20 minutes into the movie. I think I timed it. It's like 25 minutes. But even if you know that already, it still works, because that's not the only twist that is in this movie. There's at least two more big ones. So you've got that going for you. It's also just really well acted, really well scripted. There's so much attention to detail in this story. And it's hilariously funny. I'd say it's more of a thriller than horror, and more of a comedy thriller. I mean, it's only horror in the sense that it's in the tradition of and I hate that phrase, by the way, in the tradition of, that's a marketing BS term, but I'll use it because it's helpful. It's sort of in that tradition of the killer robot movie from the 50s. You know, we've evolved from Robbie the Robot's not a killer robot, but like the Colossus of New York and Gog and all those killer robot things, all the way down through, Android, Deadly Friend. Anytime you get a android that looks human and goes on a rampage, that's the great-great-grandmothers of this movie. And those were horror. Those were sci-fi horror, so it counts in that regard, I think. So yeah, that was my first impression. I gave it like a lot of stars on Letterboxd. It remains to be seen, though, by the end of this podcast, if my attitude towards the star rating has changed, though.
Okay. What about you, Philip?
Yeah, for me, I saw it in theaters. I remember when the trailer dropped. I saw the teaser trailer. I didn't watch the official trailer. I watched the teaser trailer, and it is so good. If you have not, if anyone who has not seen it wants at least a little idea of watch the teaser trailer. It is cut phenomenally. I remember watching that at work with my coworkers, and we're all just trying to guess at the time what the story is about. And that's how good it was. It made me excited to want to go see it. It's funny because with the two leads, Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher, both of them were on a roll for their individual stuff, because for Sophie Thatcher, before this, she just had Heretic come out the year before. That was, again, a really good thing. And then 2025, early 2025 was a good year for Jack Quaid, because you had Companion coming out. You also had Novocaine coming out as well a couple of months later and stuff. So I like Jack Quaid. So when I saw he was in this, I was excited. And again, this was the director debut for Drew Hancock. It was going to be Zach Cregger, but he ended up letting Drew Hancock do it. And yeah, I saw it in theaters, and I loved it. I really love the concept. Everything that Thomas said, I 100% agree. Of just, again, the story, the cast is good. It's a good high concept. What this movie is for me, I don't know, either one of you saw this movie, but it reminded me a little bit of Don't Worry, Darling. But it did it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But this movie actually did it well. What it was trying to say, it did it well versus Don't Worry, Darling, which ended up being so contrived. This is just, you're watching the movie, you understand the subtext of what it's trying to tell you. It does it well, and yeah, I love this movie.
So you all out there listening to the podcast can't see me smiling. I'm smiling because I don't really like this movie all that much. The thing is, for me, I just recently watched, I didn't see it at the theater. I recently just watched it for the podcast itself. I had read a lot about the film, and of course, me and Philip had already talked about the movie a little bit. And I already knew the concept of the movie itself. So I was not, so the whole thing with you guys telling me you go in blind, I was like, oh, it's really hard to go in blind with a movie that's had as much notoriety as this one has. The movie, for me, the only thing I only saw the teaser trailer, and the only thing I remembered about this movie, because after me and you, Philip, talked about it after you saw it at the theater, I just said I'm gonna wait to see it. It has Sophie Thatcher in it, who I fucking love because of Yellow Jackets, and I'll just wait to see it. And I just didn't get around to seeing it until recently. This movie, for me, right off the bat, I'm like seeing references to every fucking movie I've seen in the last 30 fucking years, dude. I didn't see anything really original in terms of the story. The most recent one is being Ex Machina. I was like, dude, that's why I fucking saw that shit here. I was like, dude, I saw that here, and Ex Machina did it much better. I also saw, I had to make a list too. So I'm gonna read some of the films off my list, and some of these you may not recognize. I can guarantee you some of you might not recognize some of these titles because they are older, but they're also movies I grew up watching. Because the ideal of a killer robot, as you have already pointed out, Thomas, has been around for a very, very long time. And so some of the ones I mentioned, the most recent one and most successful one was Ex Machina. It's going to be really hard to fucking get past that movie. That fucking movie is brilliant. But you could also think about the idea of films where characters don't realize that they're robots, or other characters don't realize other characters are robots, and that's where I come from this one. Some being the Screamers from 1995, not the fucking Scream, but Screamers with what's his name? Shit, from
Peter
RoboCop.
Weller.
Yeah, from RoboCop. Was it Peter Weller? Yes, thank you. Virtuosity with Denzel Washington. Eva Destruction with oh my god, Gregory Hines. Even Short Circuit with a robot that doesn't realize it's a fucking robot. Like, I'm that whole concept is nothing like the sex bot. He's even closer to the movie Love Object. I'm not seeing any of this shit that I haven't already seen before. The thing that the movie does well for me, I think the performances across the board. Every performance in this fucking movie is great. I cannot say that with all the movies I just mentioned, other than Ex Machina. But for this film, I could say that all the performances are fucking brilliant. There are some logic issues I have in the third act that kind of, rub me the wrong way. And then, of course, the fact that they spend so much time running in and through the woods takes it away from me. Because then it becomes like a stalk and slash fucking movie in the woods. And I was like, this is not really what I wanted to see in this type of movie. And so it lucked out that it had, what the hell, how do you pronounce his name? Gillian? Fuck it, I can't remember. The guy from What We Do in the Shadows. I love that guy. Gulin?
Yes, I know who you are.
Harvey Gulin! Harvey Gulin! Dude,
Harvey
every time that
Gulin,
guy's on screen, I'm like cracking up, laughing in every movie he's in, and he saves the freaking scenes in the forest for me, and I was like, okay, I love that.
Yeah, I was a little ticked off that he gets killed when he does. I wish they'd stuck him around a little longer.
But yeah, it's the way in which he gets killed, because the problem I have with the film in the third act is the fact that this movie becomes another movie about people and fucking capitalism and money. Dude, that seems to be the fucking, the trope for all these goddamn movies out there where you have to have characters manipulate other characters for what? Money.
Yeah, I don't think it's about that though. Like, that was just that's just the motivation for the characters. I don't think that's the theme of the movie.
You could have come up with another motivation though. That motivation has been used a billion times.
I know, but you know what? It works. It's a shorthand. We get it.
I mean, I didn't mind any of that because my thing is I liked because I would actually disagree with both of you on yes, I would not really call this a killer robot movie. Is there robots in it? Yes. Do they kill sometimes? Yes. But this is, to me, not a traditional killer robot movie, because the whole point is the main character is a robot who slowly gains sentience, and again, it's not purposely killing any of these characters. It's just self-defense. Yes, there's a robot character that ends up becoming a killer robot character, but not in a traditional sense of the weird thing about this movie, right, is it kind of technically is like a horror movie, but it's really not, in my opinion. I think this is as loose can be with horror. This really is more of a sci-fi movie to me. And the comparison with Ex Machina, I see it, but also not fully agreed with it. Of like the difference between Ex Machina and this is, again, like the whole point, like the main subtext for me with this movie is about women's rights. It's about women, is how they're seen and stuff. I mean, that is the whole thing with Sophie Thatcher's character, is, again, like the whole ideal. Again, the fact that they could change her attributes and stuff, and again, like the whole ideology with that. I mean, that's, again, when I made that comparison earlier with Don't Worry, Darling, is, again, it's another thriller movie with the idea, again, of the commentary on women's rights, men seeing women as just objects, and there's no more obvious subtext than in this movie with that, because that's literally what Josh treats Iris as. He just treats her as an object of just, okay, I'm going to use you just so I can get this big heist scheme done and stuff. I don't really care about you.
I don't think it's really like just women's rights. I think that's just a ideal, because you have the same concept based on the Patrick character, who's also a robot in this film, and he's not a woman.
That's the second twist.
Really, just say it's women's rights. It's the rights. You would say like the rights of the oppressed, and not so much women's rights. The rights of the oppressed. I think is a better way of phrasing that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Philip. I just want to piggyback off of what you said, because I would say that another reason why this is different from Ex Machina is that it's a difference of point of view. This movie, unlike Ex Machina, which I did not like, by the way, which is probably yet another reason why you don't like this movie as much as you like Ex Machina. I hated Ex Machina. But that's probably because I hate Alex Garland, and I hate him even more after I worked with him on Civil War. The man's not a great director with his extras, let's put it that way. But anyway, but it's point of view, because we are almost exclusively, until the twist happens, in Iris's point of view. And unlike the machine characters in Ex Machina, they know that they're robots, but she does not know she is a robot. And granted, that whole shoe drop has been done before in other films, but I think what this movie does, even though, yes, I do think there's a bit of feminist underplay in there, but it's not really underplay. It's text, not subtext. But I think the real heart of this, pun intended, is heart. And it's the issue of emotions. And to me, the way that they explore that is maybe my favorite way to explore robots and the question of artificial intelligence in movies, which is to simply use them as stand-ins for humanity in general, or humanity in a subclass. It's one of my favorite books that was written like this was Sea of Rust by C. Robert Cargill, which, by the way, if you haven't read that book, it's a great book. You should read it. It's set in a post-human world where they had a robot war and the robots won. But the world is like a desolate wasteland. And it's told from the point of view of one robot, and all she's trying to do is get a power pack to repair herself, or she's going to die. But the way all of the robots, no matter what they're built for, they all have human voices. And they treat the memory of the human race as if it's like God, like our creator. They keep referring to them as our creator. Our creator is dead. So it's like, it becomes like an existentialist morality play, where how do you live in a world where it seems like there's no purpose anymore. So that's what that book is all about, is this existentialist idea of this one lone character, this female robot who's trying to find her purpose. And that's what this movie is about too. The opening line is all about purpose. She says, the world seems like a cold, dark place, but sometimes you find moments of transcendence. And for me, I found that twice. And of course, I'm horribly paraphrasing the script, but here we go.
No, it's fine.
She says, I found it the first time when I met Josh, and I found it the second time when I killed him. Which, by the way, is a brilliant way to start a freaking movie. That's how you start a script. I mean, once you've read that, if I read that on the page, I'd be like, okay, we're flipping. We're gonna find out how that happened and what's going on. But like the movie is all about that that existential idea of searching for purpose, especially when you find out that your purpose is very ignoble and you can't control what your purpose is. How do you find that? And also, it's about emotions. You know, that whole scene where after she finds out that we're going to be jumping all over the place, by the way, people. But when she finds out that she is a robot, which I love the whole scene because she completely like refuses to believe it. But the way that Jack Quaid, after she has been used against her will to murder Sergei, who they think is a Russian gangster, he is not. But he's very rich and they just want his money, which yes, we've established that. But anyway, so Sergei's a dead body. I don't think they even say what they do with his body. He's just there. But anyway, they
never go to his body. They just leave.
They never do.
Yeah.
Right. They got bigger things to worry about as soon as she escapes. But anyway, that she's tied to a chair, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, Iris. Like you're a robot." She's like, "How? I have memories." Yeah, they're fake. I put them in from a drop down menu of meet cutes. Which, by the way, when you think about that scene of them meeting in the shopping mall in the beginning, that's their meet cute. That's her emotional anchor to him, and it's just a cliched rom-com meet cute.
Which I love that too. That's
Yeah.
it's such a smart thing because you see that and it's like, oh, okay, it's a rom-com, blah blah blah, and then you find out like, oh, that was purposeful. It's like, again, I love that. That is a good like commentary on all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, but then she mentions like I have feelings, I feel things, and he keeps saying, in fact, he says this repeatedly throughout the movie, it's just programming. It's just programming. It's just programming. Those tears, that's just a water reservoir in your head. That's all it is. And to me, that is a dialogue with naturalism, especially like scientific naturalism that would tell you, that would have you believe that your emotions, that your spirituality, that your preference in any of those things, and really any choice you make in your life is all chemicals. It's all programming. You are a meat robot. In fact, I've heard some philosophers literally refer to people, human beings, as meat robots. So that's what this movie is. It's engaging that dialogue and basically saying, no, even if you have programming, it doesn't mean that those emotions aren't real. Because even when Patrick, who, by the way, already another twist, it's not a huge twist, but it's still a twist, that Patrick, the gay male robot to Hervé's character, he reveals to his boyfriend that, I know I'm a robot. I've known for years. And he's like, what, you do? He's like, yeah, I pieced it together. Because he's not a big dumb Ken doll after all. But he totally does know. And he's like, he knows his emotion. He knows his emotions are programmed. And he knows his memory of meeting Patrick meeting Hervé is fake, but it's not fake to him. And that's where the heart of this movie is. And that's why that love story, which is genuine, kind of saves the day at the end. Because that's what Patrick breaks through his programming, and that's what causes him to break out of the mod that Josh has created, and basically not save Iris, but not kill Iris. Instead, he kills himself, which I didn't like that. I wish he'd stuck around for a little longer, but oh well. So yeah, that's what I think this movie's really all about.
Well,
I think some of that's all in there. I think there's a lot of ideals in this film. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. And some of them are designed to be plot motivations, and some of them, like the I don't even know Parvey's real character's name is. Eli. He doesn't look like an Eli, character, does he? Which I told you is my favorite fucking character in the movie. And he's such a fucking brilliant actor, and they got him. I'm glad they fill the roles up with great actors, because they do so much with so little that could have been really fucked up by any other actor who was not really as accomplished.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love Jack Quaid being the villain. Like he I get it, because I'm mostly myself associating with the boys right now and stuff. So seeing him
Oh,
being antagonistic, I just love seeing that.
You didn't
I
see
forget.
Scream where
I
he was the
forgot.
villain?
I didn't, but I know he
Oh yeah,
is
that's
the
right.
villain in that
Yeah,
too.
I'm like, dude, he goes back and forth. It's really, it's almost kind of sad that the only thing of his that's been successful is The Boys and Scream. Everything else that he's been in has not really been successful because I do think he's a really great actor. I love Novocaine, and I love,
He is, but you know what's funny is like every time he smiles, all I can see is his dad.
yeah, it's the same here. I see so much of it, and we've talked about Dennis Quaid so much already because how much I love Dennis Quaid. I see it in him too. I'm like, dude, I just see it in him. But I forgot before I said that. Who were you talking, Philip?
We're talking about
Uh,
Hervé, the Eli character. Which, by the way, I'm gonna make an admission here that is going to make me look really dumb and probably a little not racist, but like colorblind or like face blind. But like I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm dumb and I haven't seen enough of either of these guys' projects. Maybe because I've never seen them together. But I wrote down in my notes that that Eli was played by Josh Gad.
Oh Jesus.
oh,
I don't
geez.
know why I mistook
Well,
them.
Goodwin got famous off of What We Do in the Shadows. Like
I
he's
know.
so fucking brilliant, but he's done so much shit since What We Do in the Shadows.
I
And
know. And
I
I
was
loved What We Do in the Shadows, and I remember him from that. But for whatever reason, I thought he was Josh Gad.
don't get me wrong, I love Josh Gad too, dude. I fucking love Josh Gad. I could almost see why you got you had that little comparison flux there. Because I love Josh Gad's another great actor. Fuck, I wish he did more stuff too. Because I love his work too.
Can
Um,
you imagine? Can you imagine what Disney would have thought? Probably if the guy who played the voice of Olaf was was this part in this movie. Can you imagine that dialogue coming out of his mouth?
oh Jesus.
But
So
yeah, but
go ahead.
the cast is great. Like Sophia Thatcher too. Like she holds it down so well as Iris and
She
stuff.
was, and
Like
you know what, Philip? This was the first movie I ever saw her in.
Oh
I
really?
haven't. Yeah, this was her debut for me. I wanted to see Heretic. It's been on the back burner. I would have. I just still haven't gotten around to see Heretic. But I heard she was great in that, and I was like, okay, cool, new person, got to see this. But I ended up seeing Companion instead because that was on the list when I was flipping through at my friend's house. And
she's
actually, I probably would have
great.
watched Heretic. I probably would have watched Heretic that night, but my friend's TV had some limited streaming options. I don't think they had HBO Max, so I wouldn't have been able to watch Heretic anyway. So this was the first time I saw her, and I thought, wow, she's pretty great. And then you know, an amazing talent she has is that, according to IMDb, the director loved the fact that she can cry one single tear from one eye and then the other right after on command.
Well, she's fucking brilliant in Yellow Jackets. She's one of the main characters in Yellow Jackets.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that. I
That's
wanted to
where I
see that
mostly
show.
knew her from before she had her breakout in doing films. After that, she did the recent remake of the Stephen King Boogeyman.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, she was in that. She was more or less a star in that. And of course, we talked about Heretic already on the show, where she was absolutely brilliant in. She's done other
Mhm.
stuff, but that's what I'm mostly known her for. I've just been watching Yellow Jackets and all the horror films she's been in, but she's been in lots of other stuff. I think she could be. I don't know if it's a visual change that she needs to make or what, but she could be a contender for one of the great up and coming actresses if they could find a way to market her as different as other actresses of her age. She has this almost look that's very similar to other actors of her age range right now. And it's her roles for me that keep me coming back because I know who the fuck she is. Because of
Mhm.
Yellow Jackets. I'm looking forward to the final season of Yellow Jackets because of her. Well, she's one of the reasons. It's just a great fucking show overall. So,
Yeah, it's kind of funny about her look too. Is like I can see people mistaking her for Anya Taylor-Joy.
yeah,
Although Anya Taylor-Joy's eyes are much bigger, because
yeah,
I
yes.
think I think Anya Taylor-Joy is probably genetically engineered to be an actor by some like mad scientist down in Argentina. But yeah, so what's funny too is like she can change I'm going to talk about her face for a little bit because there's a couple of things that are interesting about her face. Is like I don't know what it is, but there's some times where like she looks like a completely different person. Like when her lower part of her face is all smeared in blood, and that's all that's there. I don't know what, but she looked like a totally different person. I was like, I know that it was her, but she looks really different. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because she has very thick lips, but they're not symmetrical. They're not perfect. But if they're all smeared in red, you can't tell where her lips begin and end. So it's just like this wide, angelic looking red blood face. And also like in that moment, she doesn't have a whole lot of eye makeup too, which she has a lot of eye makeup in the rest of the movie. But in that one moment where just after she kills Sergey and she comes in all panicked, she's just got blood on the lower half of her face. And it's just like, wow, that's weird. She looks different. Maybe it's a little bit of a Clark Kent effect thing. I don't know going on. But like, second thing I want to say about her face, and this is not meant to be a slight on her at all. She's beautiful, but I think it's interesting that they cast her and the guy playing Patrick, whose name I can't remember, and I'm totally sorry if somebody could look that up for me. That actor and those are the two. What's his name?
Lucas Gage.
Yes.
Lucas Gage, right? That sounds familiar. I'm sure I've seen him in something else. But Lucas Gage and Sophie Thatcher.
Oh, he's in Smile 2. That's right.
Oh, he was? Who was he in Smile 2?
He's the one who, if you've seen Smile 2, he's the drug dealer who beats himself to death.
Oh, that guy. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't recognize him. That's wild. I didn't recognize him at all. They make him look. That is a good thing. Like they make him look very much like a Ken doll in this movie. Like his features are very, his hair and everything is very perfect looking. But yet, if you look at his lips, and I didn't really notice this until the second time I watched it, but like he's got a scar on his right lip that's very noticeable, especially if you watch it on a big old screen and in HD. And Sophie Thatcher has got has some features like that too. Like I said, her lips are asymmetrical and her front tooth is kind of crooked.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, how weird is it that they made the choice in this movie to not straighten her teeth? They made the choice to not make up over his scar. I think it's interesting that they imagine a future in which the production of AI robots puts imperfections in them on purpose to make them seem more human. I think that's very interesting because we're at a point now where they're not even there yet. All these sex bots that are being made right now as of this recording, of course, by the time y'all listen to this in the future, maybe you all might have one in your closet right now. Ugh. But they're made to look perfect. They're made to look better than human women, quote unquote. They're made to look, and even if you look at the AI creations like the Tilly Norwoods and stuff, like they have flawless faces. There's nothing wrong on there. So that's kind of creepy that we're going to get to a point maybe where they purposefully, maybe randomly, assign blemishes to the face of an android to make it look more human. And it may have been they did that on purpose, maybe to throw the audience off too. Because maybe if she looked too perfect, maybe they might have given away the game a little early. I don't know. But yeah.
Depends on what you knew about the film going in before you went in to watch the movie.
I do think going off that idea of, again, and this is for me because I'm the one who saw it in theaters. When you watch the movie the first time, the moment when, if you don't know again about, Patrick and Iris being robots, the moments the drop moments, it's done so well. Because I can tell you, watching it in a theater full of people, when those moments happened, it was a gasp moment. You were like, whoa. It again, I think it's done very effectively because it fools you in a false sense of lull at the beginning. Again, talking about when they first talk about getting together and stuff, and it's not until the whole like Iris go to sleep, that reveal being the shut off is not right away. They lull you a little bit into that. It's not until we get to the reveal a little bit later when you find out when he says Iris go to sleep, you go, oh, that's the key phrase, versus, oh, that is again, like you don't find that out until after she has killed Sergey. Do you find that out that's like, oh, she's a robot? So,
Yeah.
and then you think earlier when he said, guys, go to sleep. Again, you watch it the first time. If you don't know that, you're just like, oh, it's just like everyone's had an SO where they're like, you have to like, hey, go to sleep. Like I know you're panicking and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
or hey,
again,
wake up, which he does when they're driving.
yes.
And it's like you don't even think about it, which is really bizarre. And so when it happens and the eyes go white, then you're like, wait, what? Oh, that's why I wish I could have watched this with my wife, who doesn't normally watch horror movies. I told her, I want to see if you can guess what's going on because you know nothing about this.
Yeah. I try to do that to my wife sometimes too. After I've seen the movie and I've made it safe for her. That's the only way she'll ever watch horror movies with me is if I first watch it and then tell her it's safe. Because she had a bad reaction when I took her to go see the remake of Suspiria, and I was not expecting the blood orgy at the very end of the movie, so I had to cover her eyes while that whole sequence was happening. I didn't think that was gonna happen at the end of the fucking movie, dude. So I have to watch all the movies first if she's gonna be interested in them at all. I kind of screwed her up with that movie, but
I think she could do this movie because generally, other than Sergey's death at the beginning, honestly, the kills are not that gruesome. Although I will say, I love the kill at the end with Josh. Like Josh's death was done fairly well. But other than that, I mean,
really well.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, if you're someone for people that get very squeamish about blood. I mean, it's not. You see blood, but it's pretty tame. It is a rated R movie, and stuff. But like, it's not Terrifier. It's not Saw. It's not. You're not going to be really uncomfortable with a lot.
No.
Like, the kills are not going to make you too squeamish.
No, the only time it gets a little overboard is when Patrick goes full T-1000 and goes after the cop that pulls over Iris, which by the way, I love that whole sequence where she speaks German.
I thought that was actually really clever. I didn't think that was clever.
Yeah, although
she has to tell the truth, but she doesn't want him to understand what she's saying.
Yes.
That was really clever.
She can't lie. So she makes herself speak only a foreign language, which, by the way, imagine if the guy just happened to speak German, she would have been screwed. But okay, she picked German and she got it right that the guy doesn't speak any German. But yeah, that scene has been clipped and circulated online on Twitter too. So people are probably familiar with it. But but that's the only scene that's kind of brutal in the violence because Patrick gets sent to hunt her down Terminator style. Yeah. And there's quite a few references to Terminator in this movie, but they're not overt. They're more like costume and design things, and this is the costume thing. He literally just pistol whips this poor cop in the face repeatedly until his face is just red pulp. And yeah, it's pretty bad. But other than that, yeah, it's a date movie.
So now that we've gotten all the stuff that we really like about the film, I have to address the stuff that I do not like or what you do not like about the film. Should I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We are the ones who are trying to convince you this is a masterpiece.
You can't convince me this is a masterpiece. You're not gonna.
Oh, come on, Kevin! I've done it to you before.
Nah, you can change my ideals on certain films in regards to them not being horrible. You can't change them to be masterpieces or whatever. I think literally one of the few films that someone has actually changed my mind is because I read about it before we had a conversation, and the conversation actually made it even better. And that was It Follows, because that was a movie that did not click with me when I first saw it. But after reading about it, discussing it, I think it's a fucking brilliant movie. But that being said, my problem with this movie is a lot of the stuff is at the third act because it should not have gone on as far as it did because what the fuck is his name? Josh, who is supposed to be really clever and manipulating and changing things on the fly, does the dumbest shit in this fucking movie in the third act. Like he gets a hold of Iris again, and he still doesn't fucking wipe her memory. Like, there's no reason at this point for him not to just wipe her completely.
But because he thought that her brain was in her head,
No,
which is a trope that every freaking sci-fi movie, including
yes,
Terminator, by the way, has reinforced. And that
yes,
was one thing I thought that was really clever, that they address that and say, "Oh no, it's in her chest," which in real life, that's what would happen.
yeah,
And
but
and he would have known that if he just read the terms, the manual. And he didn't read the freaking manual because, like, the technician said, "Oh, it's all on the manual." Of course, he didn't read the manual because who freaking reads the manual?
he should have. Nah, his character, after the first time that he said he needed to have a last conversation with her before they wiped her and then she escapes. There's no reason for him to have another conversation with her again after she's been caught. There's no reason. There's none. Like, this is a plot ploy for the film to keep it going. Now, I do think it was clever to have the CPU in the chest instead of the head. I did think that was that was clever. And the fact that he didn't read the manual, so he didn't know that shit. I did think that was clever. But as much as he is manipulating Patrick and wiping him out with the ease, there's no reason why he doesn't do the same thing with Iris.
So what I'm hearing you say is it's not motivated properly that he would have that dinner scene with her at the end, basically.
Yes, because his downfall is because he for some reason does stupid shit at the very end, like a lot of films, which we've discussed on this show before, where at the very third act the characters do something stupid, and it becomes their downfall, and it's something that they would have never done because they wouldn't have done it earlier in the film. Like, he is manipulating a lot of the robots. Like, he's created the mod to go ahead and manipulate her to begin with.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, though, Kevin. I don't think he created that mod. I think he bought that offline because I don't think he hasn't come across to me as clever. He thinks he's clever, but he's not really. He is a narcissist who thinks that that the world revolves around him and the world owes him things. But you listen to his arguments and they do not come off as very clever. He really hasn't thought this whole plan through. If he had, that whole thing with Sergei would have gone by a whole lot smoother. And also, let's not forget, this wasn't all his plan. He's not some criminal mastermind. He and Kat collaborated on this thing. In fact, I'm willing to bet Kat was probably the brains behind this operation. And when she was out and gets accidentally knifed by Patrick, which, by the way, I think that's a little bit of a contrivance because Patrick is a robot. I think even if he's automaton level dumb, he still would know the difference between stop and hack with a knife. I mean, he doesn't hack with a knife, but you know what I mean. Yeah, he would have figured that out.
They need to get rid of her character. We know why that's a plot thing. That's another plot thing.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But I think the reason why he does the whole theater at the end is because, number one, I think in his own twisted way, does love Iris. He is attached to her, at least. And he really does want to, quote, say goodbye to her. And that's how he does it. Remember in the beginning where he already was going off the course of the plan by tying her up to that chair and not just offing her right there and then. Kat complains about that. He says, why don't you just do it now? And he's like, oh, I was just saying goodbye. So he has to do that. He has to go through the process of letting her go.
That's why I don't think it's worth doing it a second time. He does it a second time. Like, he had that doesn't. I know there might be some narcissistic things in his brain pan. I always get that because anyone who acts like him would have to be narcissistic. But I also think narcissists won't repeat the same mistakes they did before. Like, he did that before. It did not turn out well the first time. Why would you do it again?
Because it's different. Because also, here's the thing about narcissists, though, is that they can't self-reflect. And they totally would do the same crap again, especially if they're not brilliant. So you're confusing narcissism with the stereotype of the narcissistic psychopath who is brilliant. And that's a trope that we're used to. But this is not who that guy is. In fact, I was even thinking as I was rewatching this, I was like, I don't know, maybe he's not really even a classic narcissist. He doesn't fit that careful. He doesn't fit that much into that square, into that peg. I mean, he's got tendencies to it, but that's what makes him an interesting character. He's not. He's complex. He's contradictory. They all are, really. I
They're
think maybe
somewhat complex until it unfolds that they're all in it for the money. Which is another trope that comes back up. If they had gotten rid of the whole money thing, I probably would have gone with the film more.
Then what would be the motivation if it wasn't the Sergei's money?
There's tons of motivations that you could have. You could have Kat wanting revenge on Sergei. Sergei really was a drug dealer who was manipulated. You could have had a whole bunch of different things. Kat and Josh were having an affair, which is what it implies in the movie. It does imply that they were sleeping with each other, which is why Eli asked them, "Are you two sleeping with each other?" You know,
that's not an implication. That's literally. I mean, he said, what's his name? Josh says that later because that's his sick fantasy. That's what he wants the cops to believe. That's not implied at all. I have no doubt in my mind. Kat has no desire to get in Josh's pants at all, especially when she's got whatever Sergei's packing. I don't know. But clearly if anyone's really wanting money, it's just her. It's her, and really it's not money they want. Because that's another thing that I think people don't understand the motivation. Greed is a motivation. It's not about money. It's about the things money can give you. And it's different for everybody.
Greed, dude. That's still greed.
I know that, but here's the thing. It's like for them, it's about, I guess for Kat, it's about freedom. She wants to be free because she feels trapped.
Yeah, and Josh wants status because he feels.
And Josh wants status.
That's all greed.
Right, but I think it's more than that for Josh. I think what he really wants is he wants a world that he can control. Because his major complaint is that the world is out to get him. He cannot control that world. That's why he gets a sex bot, because he wants a partner who will not reject him. He wants a partner he can control. That's the whole issue. And what
are your thoughts, Philip?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I do think I didn't mind the third act with Josh's bumbling, because to me, I never saw him as someone who's actually smart. He's the type of person I never was convinced that he was like really smart. He always came off to me as the character that just bumbled into success. He's not someone, again, I think with the code stuff, it's not something. I think they even imply he didn't make the code from scratch. I think he found the code. I could be wrong.
I have no doubt he got that thing from somebody else.
There's implied that the two people who come to pick up the robot, come to pick her up, said all these young people like this just have a mod and modify up to their own specs.
Yeah.
And
but
just
they never
someone
say whether or not he created it himself. It is implied that maybe, like other people, they go out there and find it online, like a lot of people would do, and they just use it.
Because also, like, just because he jailbreaks a robot does not make him smart. I mean, there's a lot of people that jailbreak their phones, that jailbreak their computers. They're not super smart. I mean,
that doesn't mean they're not smart either.
True, but it doesn't mean that like they're super smart and stuff. So to me, Josh always seemed to me the entire movie, especially as the movie progresses, as a kind of a bumbling idiot and stuff. When I say bumbling, he's not like Three Stooges dumb, but he is someone that definitely he is someone who definitely did not think everything through with his plan. And as the movie progresses, it seems obvious. Like again, I was also a big fan of like the moment when he thinks he's won and then he finds out that, again, everything's stored in the admin and stuff, and his reaction to that was legitimately funny, and also I think realistically would have happened with the character. I never bought him being as someone who, I would always have everything planned out. He didn't seem like a Dexter to me. He definitely seemed someone who was, again, he was very contrived, very much, again, like Thomas was saying about like, he thinks that he wanted someone to constantly tell him how great he was. And that's even shown a little bit with his dialogue with Kat at the end there too, where again, he thinks he's smarter than he actually is. That is his character. The entire time I always could tell he was a character who thinks he's smarter than he actually is.
Yeah, and also I would say, to add to that when I was rewatching it, and seeing the dialogue and the scenes that were not from Iris's point of view, when there are scenes probably from Josh's point of view. There may have been actually a couple of little moments that are clearly from like Kat's point of view too. But like when they're talking about the logistics of this crime and all the stuff that happens, to me, if anything Drew Hancock is taking from, if he's ripping off anybody in those bits, I think what he's really ripping off is the Coen brothers. Because in the Coen brothers movies, what they constantly bring to the front is this idea, which, by the way, pretty much plays out in real life too, which is that when normal, everyday people, and by normal, I mean that in big air quotes, and normal, everyday people try to do crimes, they screw it up. Because only the smart people get away with crimes. Only the really good, smart, cold-blooded criminals get away with crimes. Everybody who gets caught screws up because most normal people can't do crimes because crimes require a level of control, finesse, even like thinking on your feet and planning that most normal people just do not have. I'm also thinking of like Office Space. They make the same point in Office Space where they're trying to like do the penny scheme, and they're like, this is why people like us don't do crimes. We suck at it, and that's exactly what happens. So that's why this whole thing falls apart. It's not because Iris is particularly a genius, although she is briefly, because she makes herself a genius when she steals Josh's phone, but
again, I think the fact that moment again when you see that he purposely lowered her intelligence and stuff, again, it's to me was a small hint again of this is a character who is smart, who is dumber than he thinks he's smart, but he's actually dumb.
Yeah, I mean, he sets her at 40%.
There's a problem with that when he lowers her IQ to 0, and yet she's still functioning as though her IQ is way above that. Because no one ever raises it back up. And the film makes it very, very readily visual that when they're manipulating all the ideals of her eye color, her intelligence, and her voice, and all that type of stuff, that the fact that when he lowers her all the way to 0, and then she gets shot in the brain, she returns to more or less what she was before, even though that's not really what should have happened.
Because they rebooted her to factory settings, so whatever the default is.
Yeah, the default probably would have been 0. You have to set it to something.
You don't know that. You don't know that. And also remember the one good human in this movie, Ted, who was one of the guys from Empathic, which, by the way, should give you a hint that that's what this movie is about: empathy. Duh. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean that for it to come off as weird, as mean as it is. But anyway, yeah, the movie's about empathy, and it's right there in the title of the corporation. But anyway, yeah, Empathic comes to pick her up, and like one bearded guy, he's in I love that he immediately sees that Josh is like lying to him. He's like, oh, he's gonna be burned for this. He's done. Yeah. I love that. And then he gets in the truck, and of course, unfortunately, Josh also knows that he knows and sends, T-1000 Patrick to kill him, and he kills him. But then after Patrick offs himself, when true love conquers all, it's Ted who comes in and takes all of the safety features off of her. Basically, he makes her a real person because now she can lie, now she can kill, now she can defend herself. Now, and I assume now she probably put her intelligence up where she wants it because now she has access to all that through Ted. We don't know what happens to Ted after the movie, but like I said, he's the one good human.
He escapes in the forest. He runs
off in the forest. Yeah.
No, I like Ted. I like the contrast between Ted and the other guy. I think they talk too much, though. I think that if they've seen as much as they have seen, that he would not have revealed where the secret, the rebooted stuff in the chest was. But that's information that the audience needs to know, and so does the characters. I think that's a plot thing, another plot thing that you have to know in order to kind of push the rest of the movie forward. Because in real life, you wouldn't have told that to some random dude in which you're taking the robot away, and he's done some bad shit, which is why.
You know what's funny as I'm thinking about this? I feel like what you're picking up on is the fact that is what I call this. You know what? I don't call this. This is not a thing. I'm gonna
Is that
invent
a
it right
thing?
now. It's not a thing. This is a thing I'm gonna invent right now. I'm gonna call this the Spielberg effect. And,
Okay, go ahead. I
and I will
believe it.
explain what is the Spielberg effect. Or you know, I'm not. No, I'm gonna let's tweak it a little more. Let's workshop this. It's really the third act, the Spielberg third act effect, which is this. You know, in Jaws, when Roy Scheider's kill. How does Roy Scheider kill the shark? He puts a scuba tank in its mouth and shoots it and explodes the scuba tank. When everyone knows full well, at least most everyone, even Spielberg definitely knew that would not work at all. That is not how scuba tanks work. That is a contrivance to get Roy Scheider to kill the shark with a bullet.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. And what Steven Spielberg said when someone brought that up to him on the set is, my gosh, look, if they're thinking about that during the movie, then I've completely failed at my job. So I think modern filmmakers especially have taken that to heart,
Yeah.
which is that if you're going to contrive stuff, if you're going to make things that don't make sense in real life, if you're going to cut corners, narratively speaking, if you're going to do any of that stuff, do it in the third act. And that is probably do it in the third act. You know why? Because if people are falling in love with your characters and falling in love with your movie and they're entertained and they're enjoying the ride, they're not going to care about any of that stuff. And for the most part, I didn't care about any of that stuff. I was just on the edge of my seat thinking, how is Iris going to get out of this one? Because I'm pretty sure she is. Although this is a horror movie, quote unquote, which I agree with Philip. I don't really think at its core it's really a horror movie. I think it's got horror tropes. It's got horror glaze on it, like a donut's got some glaze on it. It's got horror glaze, but I don't think it's ultimately a horror movie. But it fits within the purview of this podcast because, again, killer robot heritage. But yeah, no. What was I saying? I completely got off my track. But yeah, I didn't really care about a lot of that stuff because I was in the moment. Especially when I was watching it the first time. The second time, I could see that a little better because I'd known, I already knew it was going to happen. So, yeah. If I saw it a third time, I probably would not enjoy it as much. I'm not sure if this is a movie that I will watch again and again. But I've seen it twice, and both times I liked it. And I have to say, the second time, the humor hits a little harder. Especially the funniest scene that I could think of off the top of my head. Maybe there's a scene that made me laugh harder, but the first time I laughed really hard is when Hervé Eli shoots that huge 357 Magnum at Iris when she's running in the woods and goes, "Ow! Guns are so loud."
I told you, dude. I love that actor. He does that. Okay. Before I let you talk for Philip, I will tell you this: why I didn't like the third act and why I liked most of the other film. The thing is, the first 2/3 of this movie does a really good job setting up the tone with the comedy aspects, with the mystery and the thriller aspects. I love the fact that they replay the very first sequence when Iris and Josh first met. I love when Patrick and Eli first meet, and then it shows up again when Josh changes it to be Josh and Patrick. That shit is great. I loved it. That shit was funny. It was character driven. It was brilliant as fuck. Loved it. Hated the fact that the second act took so much in the fucking forest because I thought that was a cop out for fucking location's sake. The location is boring. That location is fucking boring, and I've seen it a billion times in the movies. I was hoping that the third act would kind of bring some of that in. It doesn't. It becomes more of like a thriller / horror film, and you lose a lot of that stuff in the third act for me. Like, I like the comic aspect of it. I like the relationship aspect of it. About the only time I get a little bit of that after they've killed everybody is the fact that Josh's character needs to have that deep conversation with Iris. But then I just think that's a contrivance. Because it leads to the rest of the film with the text coming and all that. I just thought that was a contrivance. I really did. And that's why I didn't care for the third act that much. I just wish that, like the Coen brothers, because you brought up a brilliant fucking analogy. I wish I had thought about that when I was watching this movie. Fucking Coen Brothers, when they are hitting it. The comedy, the thriller, the character shit, like in Fargo or Barton Fink or A Blood Simple, that shit hits. I don't think it hits with this movie. I think it's interesting and cool as a sci-fi film, and I wish it had just been a sci-fi with the romantic aspects film and not had the thriller aspects for it. I think that part for me is ruined in this film. I think this would have made a great sci-fi drama film and not a thriller. I think that's what ruins it, especially the third act. I think that's what ruins it for me. Because I think those contrivances, like those cliches that we've been talking about, are from horror films, and those are stuck in this movie, mostly in the third act.
So you're saying Josh should have actually been a good guy and actually been in love with her then?
No, because I think the idea of having Iris feel as though she is in love with him until she's not was a good character building exercise for her. So that when she's liberated at the very end and we see her driving away and she sees another companion robot in the car next to her, that is a brilliant way for her character. I think that I think that's the stuff like that is great. I think the film gets muddled down with some of those contrivances. I think that's what ruins it for me, because there is so much great stuff in the movie that when you put those contrivances in the third act, it ruins it for me. I was like, man, this movie was hitting it. And
well, I mean, honestly, look, we're bagging on it a little bit, but let's face it, Drew Hancock, this is your directorial debut. You're allowed to make,
I would give it.
Yeah, we said that multiple times.
Shit, I didn't know that. I would give it a little bit more leeway there, because you know why? Most first-time filmmakers can't make shit like this.
Exactly.
I will.
You can't make. No, sorry. Go ahead.
I was like, my last thing with that was like, because I always go back to Christopher Nolan's first film, which was Following, which I fucking hate. Hate that movie, dude. I don't care how I've seen that movie 3 times, and I still hate that movie. I just think that he had some ideals in that movie that he later, thankfully, used in better movies. And I was like, oh my god, this movie sucks.
Yeah, nobody likes Following.
If this is your first movie, I would give him a little bit more leeway, because this is fucking really good for a first film, dude. It's like watching, Get Out, Jordan Peele's first movie. I'm like, fuck, dude, you've taken all that experience that you've gotten and you've crafted a really great movie. I can give you a little bit more leeway. I did not know this was his first movie.
I mean, you're right. Though some people do hit it out of the park right off the bat. Although I've found that those who do generally fizzle out early. Like Orson Welles, for example, his first movie, Citizen Kane. Did he ever make another movie as good as Kane? Nope.
Touch of Evil's pretty fucking good, dude.
Touch of Evil is good, but it's not Citizen Kane.
Well, it's not.
And like same thing with Richard Kelly with Donnie Darko. I freaking love Donnie Darko. Did he ever make a movie as good as Donnie Darko? Heck no. So yeah, sometimes you can your first movie can be awesome on aces, but sometimes most people, when they do it for the first time, they either fall flat on their face or they make something that is technically accomplished and maybe even very well written. I mean, Drew is mostly a screenwriter. This is the first time that he's written and directed something. And as we mentioned before, he wasn't supposed to direct this movie. It was supposed to be Zach Krieger's follow-up to Barbarian. And thankfully for Zach Krieger, he decided to do Weapons instead.
But Krieger ended up still producing this and stuff.
He still produced.
He did produce it. But one wonders what would Zach Krieger's companion would have looked like. We'll never know.
Well, we'll see. Maybe not.
Well, we'll talk about it later. But I'm very excited for Resident Evil. But we can talk about that.
Oh crap! Yeah, that's right. I forgot he was going to do that.
But yeah, I mean, for me, again, like just touching upon the whole what you were saying too about Iris's being smarter than she should have been on the zero IQ. Again, we see snippets of that throughout the movie. Again, we see with Patrick later on, and I think we see a little bit with Iris. I think for me, it didn't bother me because for me, it's like, okay, we're seeing the snippets of independentness, of breaking the code and stuff. Because in all intents and purposes, Patrick should not have got his emotions back and stuff, but I was able to help that. So with her and the intelligence, I saw that again as her finding her programming that we already saw sprinkled in throughout the story already at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And also that is, I mean, admittedly, that whole machine learns to break their programming to become quote unquote more human. That is a trope that's as old as,
Blade
Isaac
Runner?
Asimov's I, Robot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it works for this if you consider this as a work of allegory in terms of like using robots as a stand-in for humans and the idea of breaking your inner programming to make yourself more human is really what this movie is trying to say.
Or again,
So,
for me,
yeah.
of like a little bit of, and yes, there is again for me reading it with the subtext and stuff. I do see a lot more of the feminist side of it too, because again, like literally the fact that at the end of the movie she sees another Iris and stuff.
Yeah. It's like she's looking at her past self.
She's looking at her past self again. It's like again the thing of being able to be independent, not needing no man to hold her down and stuff.
Yeah, but you know what she did do? She took all the money. She took all the money, which they brought back.
Of course.
Not of course, because if you wanted to make your point about the whole money thing and greed, she could have just left the money. She got her independence. But
I will say that if Robert Zemeckis had made this movie, she definitely would just burn the money and burn that whole house down.
Yeah. But you want to dismiss the whole greed theme in there. The greed theme shows up in everywhere. You just have to make sure you're looking for it. But like I said, Philip, go right ahead.
So I want to try before we wind down a bit. I don't want to not talk about the climax to this and how. And I will say that this is kind of something that I noticed the second time around is that because Josh is not, or none of them really are really good at crimes because they're just people, and as we all know, ordinary people suck at crimes. He's not Josh. Unfortunately, maybe if they cast a little bit of a more imposing actor than Mr. Quaid Jr. He's not Drake Jr. I'm sorry, but anyway, he probably would have been a more viable threat because I feel like watching it the second time around, I felt like he wasn't as imposing, and even when he gets the upper hand, seemingly at the end in that little fight again, where he says, "I'm a part of you. You can't get rid of me," which, if they ever make a sequel to this, that will remain to be seen, because that is kind of an unanswered question. I mean, she seems like she's, moved on from that, but I don't really know. We'd have to find out. But I love that when
no sequels, just let go.
No sequels.
Yeah.
Well,
this was a one-off story. I'm good.
But here's the thing, though, they could, because this, and I'm not going to franchise this. I'm just going to say up there, I don't have a franchise this for this. But remember when the guys when the two empathics guys are in the truck, they say like, the Teddy's like, why would he mod the guy like that? Why would he do that sick thing? He's like, dude, people do it all the time, man. People mod their companions to use them for target practice.
Yeah.
Another guy would ties it up in the basement and tortures it, man. People are sick. And I thought to myself, those two scenarios sound very much like first drafts of this movie, because I could totally see them doing a companion franchise where it's a different companion each movie, and they all do those scenarios, which, by the way, both of those scenarios are much more horror-based than this scenario in this movie. But I digress. Anyway, so what I was trying to get to is their final fight. I feel like it's great, when she, you think she's going for the knife as he's crawling on top of her, but she misses the knife. But if you look very closely, the little mechanical, battery-operated corkscrew is right there, but she doesn't grab it. And he's on top of her, and he's about to shoot her in the right place in the chest. And he's like, what does he say? He says, I wrote it down.
You wrote it? Okay.
Okay, he says, what does he say? He's brilliant. Oh, yeah, he says, he's about to shoot her in the stomach, and he's lying in there, and he's like, Iris, I'd be lying if you weren't such a colossal pain in my butt. But if we did have some good times together, and I will always cherish that. Is there anything you'd like to add? And then Iris says, "Go to sleep, Josh." Rams that corkscrew in his temple, and it just drills into his head like the phantasm drill from the phantasm balls of death. And that's how he dies. And honestly, I think we probably could have done that a little better if Mr. Schwarzenegger had come in and provided some alternatives. So, without further ado, here is our Schwarzenegger alternators for When Iris Kills Josh.
Go ahead.
I had to say goodnight to my kid. For those of you who are new to our podcast, this is a bit that we often do on Conversations in Horror, where I, Thomas Tinarello, often imagine and spruce up the moments in these movies where a quippy kill line for either the hero or the villain could be possibly improved by the vocal stylings of one Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he is the king of quips, in my opinion. And especially because this is a movie about a killer android robot, it really makes sense for it to be Mr. Schwarzenegger's voice coming out of Sophie Thatcher's beautiful thick lips. So imagine this as she's lying down on the ground, okay? And Josh is about to shoot her in the stomach where her CPU is. And Kevin, I'm going to need you to feed me the line. When he says, you have anything to add, Iris? You say that, and then I will say the line. So are you ready, Mr. Kevin?
Wait, say the line again.
Do you have anything to add, Iris?
Okay, tell me when you're ready.
I am ready now.
Do you have anything else to say, Iris?
The weather tomorrow will be 85 degrees with 100% chance of blood. Number 1. Number 2.
Do you have anything else to say, Iris?
Make sure you thank Sergey for a wonderful weekend. Number 3.
Do you have anything else to say, Iris?
Beep, boop, bastard. Because that's her nickname that Jenny created. Beep, boop.
I like the first one. I've forgotten about the whole weather thing until you remember you said it. That was good.
Yes. And I love the way that they play that off, and before you know she's a robot, that you think it's just a joke that they have between them. She just knew the weather that day. Well, but when he uses it again, because she just, as part of her programming, she just instantly knows the weather, like Siri, which, by the way, Siri backwards is Iris. Weird, huh?
Anyway, go ahead.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was about to take us into rating the movie. What you got?
Oh no, we got 2 more of these, and the last one's the best one. All right,
2 more. Then why did we stop?
Because we got sidetracked by Beep Boop. All right. All right, number 4.
You have anything else to say, Iris?
You know what your problem is, Josh? You whine too much. Because it's a wine bottle corkscrew. Because, yeah. Okay. And finally, number 5.
Do you have anything else to say, Iris?
Get screwed.
Okay.
Get screwed.
Oh, I got it.
I considered just recycling the bit from Predator, of course, where Arnold Schwarzenegger throws nails somebody to a wall with from Total Recall, where he kills the Martian with a giant drill and says "Screw you." But I think "Get Screwed" was probably a little better.
Jesus. Well, we want to thank you for your Arnold Schwarzenegger alternators.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin.
And for everyone out there, I want to thank our guests for this conversation, Mr. Philip and Mr. Thomas. It's been great talking to you about Companion. We did not go through a whole bunch of plot details, but we want you to actually watch the damn movie since it's a recent film. So it's good that we don't do that, even though we did a lot of spoiler reveals. But for all of you listening, what we love to do is love to rate the film between 1 and 5, 1 being poor, 5 being amazing. But what we like to do is take an object, quote, or saying for the film to attribute to our quote. What is your rating, and what is the object, quote, or saying you want to attribute to your rating? And we're going to start off with you, Mr. Phillip.
For me, Companion is 4.5 bloody electric corkscrews out of 5.
Fitting for what we were just talking about. Fitting.
Yes.
All right. What about you, Thomas?
Get screwed. So yeah, we got 6 dead bodies and 1 dead robot in this beautiful movie. Yeah, like I said, the second time around, though, it didn't quite zing as much. Probably because I was kind of under the gun to get this done before we did this show. So that may have projected into it. It also may be that the second time around, you're a little bit more emotionally distant from the movie because it's more of an intellectual exercise the second time around. So I think for me, I think on Letterboxd, I was like all high from the experience of watching it, and I gave it like 4.5 stars. Like it was like this close to being 5. But I think now on second viewing, I think I realized that I was a little too presumptuous. So instead, I'm going to rate this just 4 burned cyber hands out of 5. And Kevin is trying to kill me because apparently that was probably his object he was going to use.
Dude, you have the knack of reading my mind when I pick an object out of these movies to attribute to my rating, because that was definitely going to be mine. I was going to say the 3.5 Terminator 2 reveal hands at the end of the movie, because that's what it made me. The moment we see her rip it off, it just made me feel Terminator 2-ish. But since you already took that, I'm going to have to go with, 3.5, Eli's in this film. Well, mostly because I like Harvey Gulen in the film.
I don't think you've ever used a whole character as your object before.
I think it's worth it, dude. I watched this film again mostly because of him. Sophie Thatcher, I think, were great in the movie. I really do. I think they were fucking phenomenally and kind of flawless. But they also, even in their small little film, their little scenes, like the opening scene with her in the grocery store, and of course Gulen in the when he's in the dinosaur costume, when he's him and Patrick. Dude, those scenes are just, I love those scenes. I like I said before, I wish that the film in the third act had embraced that a little bit more, like a Coen Brothers movie. I'm never gonna get that in my brain now, dude. It's stuck in my brain. I'm gonna wish this movie was like a Coen Brothers movie. I'm gonna rewatch it again, knowing that the Coen Brothers is now in my brain. When
Can you imagine what the Coen Brothers companion would have been? Like, imagine how messed up that movie would have been.
It'd be like a cross between like Fargo and Raising Arizona. It'd be fucking brilliant. It'd be great. It'd be great. Maybe the director will become like them. Their early shit, they've kind of gone off the rails a little bit. I hate to admit, but their early shit's still classic. So
sadly the Coens have broken up. So
they broke up. Doing projects on their own, and those projects are not all that good.
Yeah, except for Macbeth. I heard that was good.
Yeah, so with that, I hope everyone has enjoyed our conversation about Companion. If you have not seen the film and you've listened to this entire conversation, shame on you. But thank you for listening. We hope that you have enjoyed the conversation regardless. Please make sure to check out our previous episodes on the plethora of different films, as well as a lot of the movies from the last couple of years that we've tried to highlight, because we were trying to actively highlight a lot more modern films for you readers. You have requested it. Therefore, we are bringing it to you as much as we can. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, please have a great day, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Go to sleep, everyone.
Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production. Written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers. Executive producer, Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.